numerous different poses. Don't worry about getting numerous poses. Get one. We need one really good front pose. And so eventually we'll get up here and we'll show that. And the reason I twist my hips is because I'm a guy. I have no hips, and I'm pretty straight up and down right now. But when I twist my hips, all of a sudden I've got a smaller waist and more glutes. So you can still see I've got some shoulders, tiny little waist, nice glutes. Y'all should all look better than me posing. Good luck. Okay. And there's also just, you can tell I'm very upright. I'm going to try to be as tall as I can. You're compared in your height class. There are different height classes. Some shows might just have 3, some might have 4. Big ones have 6 height classes. And so you don't need to worry that, well, I'm only 5'2", I don't want to stand next to her who's 5'10". You're not going to unless you win your height class. So let's worry about just the girls who are your height class. Because everyone, but if you're here, you're significantly shorter than if you're here. And it's all perception. The judges are always going to be looking up at y'all and seeing how you look. And if you look like you're the shortest one when you really shouldn't be the shortest one in your class, that just, the height brings attraction. And so it's all perception of this is what looks attractive. Confidence looks attractive. This, not so much. I'm the same person. I didn't do anything differently. I just present myself in a more positive or more confident manner. So again, I'm going to twist my hips one way or the other, and then I try to teach you to just learn how to turn around naturally. If I just said turn around and you turn around this way, I'm going to want you to make your posing turn around that way. If you turn around this way, we'll pose that way. It doesn't matter. There's no one way. Everyone has to turn to the right. It does not matter. This is bikini. Y'all can turn around any way you want to. When you turn around, though, you're still being judged. So it's not like, okay, I'm posing. Now I'm not posing. Now I'm going to pose. Now I'm not going to pose. But you'll see people do that. And the judges will say, I like the girl posing. The one that wasn't posing, not so much. Again, that's when they mark you down. So if your foot is on the stage, you are always posing. And it's always being very up and making sure that everything looks good. So I'm tiny little waist, because if I keep my waist tiny here and I do this, I go, look, I'm wide again. But if I just bring my leg in, I still have this tiny little waist. So I have a nice butt, then I say, here's a little preview. Literally, I'm gonna give a little shoulder shrug, and then I'm gonna go right back to where I came from. There's a little box up here. We'll worry about the box in a little bit, but you wanna learn how to stay in your lane, because you'll be standing next to other girls. You can't stand on this one, and you can't step on this one. So that means if you turn around, I can't stand right here, because I'm going to step on her and she's probably going to take that stiletto hill and just jam you right in the foot. You have to stay in your lane. So there's no floating around. So that's why it's always just bring your feet back to where they came from. Now, I'm a big fan of making this very conservative. This sport is overly sexual as it is. But if you want to look trashy like that, you see how that looks. All the legs are open the whole time. Not so attractive. But if you come in a little conservative, you got to open back up, close up, and then open. It makes it a lot more classy. And you want to be classy because you're probably going to have friends and family there, and there'll be kids there. Honestly, your suit is going to be this big. It's going to cost $600. It's going to show a lot of skin. But from the judge's perspective, they're looking at muscle groups. They can't see your glutes and your hamstrings if you're covering up half your glutes. So that's why it's going to be very revealing to show full glute muscle bellies and to elongate your legs. There's a reason why they don't wear their bikinis low rise. They're low enough and they're small enough as it is, but they're not going to be what you wear to the beach. Let's say. We should probably have our bikini people come up here. But again, it's all about keeping your posture a certain way to show the judges what you want them to see. And there's numerous different ways to turn back around. Because from here, you see me just turn around. As long as I don't drop my glutes, I'm actually fine. There's some people who do a whole little dance routine, they'll do a couple little steps. You're always going to go back into your front pose, because again, it's always about showing one really good front pose and one really good back pose.
Hi, this is Lee Haney, 8-time Mr. Olympia, and I want to invite each and every one of you to be a part of the International Association of Fitness Science. Go check us out at www.iafs.certification.com. And while there, check out some of the other exciting things that we got going on. October the 28th and 29th, 2016, Lee Haney's Physique and Fitness Game will be taking place for the second year. I want to see each and every one of you there. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time, and God bless you.
So why bikini? When this first was announced in the NBC bikini, I was like, what in the world? What do you mean? Sports Illustrated is sponsoring the NBC or something? Why are we doing bikini? And we went to a meeting and they told us, yes, this bikini division is coming on. So the issue was, well, what are you looking for? Because now you've always had this dynamic of you're looking for muscles, you're looking for symmetry, balance, you're looking for all these things, and now there's this whole another category that is just, my judges are like, wow, what are we doing with this thing called bikini? And I think bikini basically came along because there were a lot of figure girls that were actually had much more of a smaller frame, much more, they weren't muscular. They looked nice, but they just weren't figure girls. So I think bikini was this thing to let's show a shape and let's show this symmetry of a woman's body in a swimsuit. Okay, and so what we're basically looking for, and then I'll have any questions, answer any questions you may have. What we're basically looking for is a balanced shape with nice curves. I will also say thank you for the presenter earlier about the swimsuit, because your swimsuit could make or break you too. Okay, that's something you should take some time in making sure that you get a nice suit when you're on stage. Nothing too glaring. You know, some people get one of those things where just rhinestones everywhere and they're just like boom. Do that if you have a really great body. If you don't have a really great body, nice suit and body. Give that girl your suit. So that's part of one of the things that you have to invest in. It's just one of those things you just gotta invest in if you actually want to do this and do it for a while. So what are the requirements? There was this big controversy last year that some of the bikini girls said they were required. There was a requirement that you turn around and do this back bending pose and all that. And the judges, we were all just like, well, where's this coming from? Because basically, all that is required is you do a front pose and a back pose. Now, the other stuff you add in between is not required, because I'm not sitting there and seeing if she's doing the turnaround back twist with a curve in her back. That pose doesn't exist in the bikini realm. What happens most of the time is is that a lot of people go online and they look at the pros, and that's justifiable, and they look at what they're doing, and then they go, oh, okay, well that must be a mandatory pose. No, it's not. Bikini is a front and a back pose, and that's it. Okay, because you're really not looking to see if there's muscularity or anything like that. You're basically looking at the shape of the competitor. So you walk to the center stage, you do your front and your back pose with your hands on your hip. Now, the only downfall is for a lot of girls in bikini or ladies in bikini is when you do this thing, I can't even do it. This down here. That thing? Well, yeah, that. Okay, see, now, okay, here's the problem. Here's the problem, and I'm telling you this, especially if you go on a national stage. We have about 15 seconds to see a competitor. And your biggest nightmare is you can't see the number. And so, right, stay there, Steve. No, stay like that. I know, it hurts your hip, don't it? Yeah. So, if I'm a judge at this end of the table, I cannot see that number. And it's like, okay, I want to move her, or I want her in first call-outs, but I cannot see that number. And so that's why sometimes you'll hear the judge say, ladies, you gotta stay face on so the judges can see your numbers. Okay? We don't know names. We don't know who you are. We just know a number. So we have to put that number somewhere in terms of call-outs or in terms of placing. So just be conscious of that when you're on stage. Probably you want to make it face the judges as much as possible. No lewd acts or anything like that are permitted. Again, I told you have to have the two-piece suits.
There you go.
And that the judges are basically comparing you against each other. Now, Linda Holt from New York. Linda, when I first started judging, Linda said sometimes it's not a matter of you looking bad or you looking great. It's just a matter of who you're standing next to. And who you're standing next to stands out that much more than you, and that's the number get called. So sometimes people come up to me after a show and say, well, what can I do? And it's like, well, no. You have to remember that when judges are judging, it's pretty much, very much so subjective. It's subjective, but it comes out with an objective result. Typically, fifth place, I can pretty much, everybody at that table is going to have fifth place. That's the objective part of it. The subjective part of it is that when you have all 5 or 10 people looking the same, how do you distinguish?
Hi, I'm Khalid Jones, and I'm with Fresh Meal Plan. And since food is the introduction to a healthy lifestyle, our aim at Fresh Meal Plan is to bring freshly delivered, prepared, healthy, and delicious meals delivered right to your door each week. We have traditional meals, paleo, vegetarian, athletic plans for contest preparation, a lot of variety. And you get to select your meals every single week. There's no commitment or contract, and just an opportunity to provide better food for your lifestyle.
It's what you have, and then other things is what you don't have. So the young lady that is standing next to a lady, and she's killing the posing, but the one next to her is not doing as great of a job on the posing, then what happens? The posing one stands out. So subjectively for that judge, posing is what matters at that moment, and the one that's not doing that great on the posing is isolated, and the one that does great. Now, for the next judge sitting right close to that person is looking up at the stage and going, well, no, don't move her. She looks great. She don't need a pose. She can just stand there because she has the shape and the symmetry that looks like a bikini. So that both subjectively looking at and taking away and giving different things. And that's what happens with judging. But it always turns out when the scores are tabulated, fifth is fifth and first is first. They always manage to get those numbers. So It's basically the comparison round when you're being compared with other competitors on the stage. I pretty much as a head judge don't have any control over that. There is no, I'm not telling them who to put where. I just pretty much ask, do you want me to move them around? Now sometimes, you know, everybody says, oh, the person in the middle is the winner. Oh, that's not necessarily true. Sometimes we put a person in the middle and we compare everybody to that person, and then I'll move another person in the middle and compare. Because what you want is you don't want too much of a gap between competitors and what they look like. First, second, and third should all be about in the same, should be this big difference between them. And so sometimes we move them around, and the judges on this end can't see this person, so they want to move on that end, and so that's what we do. So moving around doesn't necessarily mean where you're going to be placed, because at the end they turn in the score sheet, and you may have been moved from the center to the end, and you may have been fifth place from when you were in the center. So that doesn't really matter. That's pretty much it with the scoring and what we're looking for. Bikini is, like I said, is one of those things. It's a presence, more of a presence, more of an attitude, more of a little bit of modeling, a little bit of interaction with the panel in terms of your personality and your demeanor. That's pretty much what Bikini is. Okay. So I'll answer any questions you have. Yes.
With the lighting on stage, are we going to be able to see the judges pretty well? Like, are they going to be sitting where we can see them so we can interact with them?
How many first-time competitors? Okay. So, pretty much, it's according on the venue.
Okay.
Typically, very open venues, like wide spaces, you're going to see the judges panel. More closed-in spaces like auditoriums, pretty much you're not, because they have those stage lights that are beating down in your eyes so you can't see. But the open space venues, you pretty much can see the panel, and they can be able to interact.
I guess depending on the venue, will we be able to see like where they're sitting prior to the show?
Oh yes,
Okay.
yes. When you come out on the stage, for your first-time competitors, pretty much what happens is you are lined up at the back, and you're lined up according to your numbers, and our score sheets reflect your numbers. And then you come out one by one, and you do your front and right, and you do your back pose. And then you are told to go to one side by Steve or whoever's expediting to go to a line, and you stand over on that line, and then everybody comes out. And then once everybody comes out, then we do the comparisons. And that's where the judges then pass me numbers of ladies that they've seen come out and do their individual turns. And then they tell me, we want to see this number, this number, this number, this number, this number. Typically it's 5. And so we'll bring those 5 and we'll line them up here. And then that's when we start doing the comparison.
Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else has any questions?
When we're standing in that line over there, you guys are standing like this, like that.
Yes, you're just doing a front pose. A lot of ladies move about 20 times when they're like, boom, boom, boom. It really, yeah. But it really doesn't, it doesn't really impact the judges, because their attention is really on whoever they have right in front of them. But really, yes. Now, and sometimes what also happens, when we have a really tough class, you'll be standing there for a minute, because the judges are like, well, I don't know, I want this one and this one, and I may want this one. And it takes us a minute to get first group of ladies out. So that typically, sometimes what happens. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, now one of the other things, I'm in charge of registration for the NPC, but I'm speaking on behalf of any organization. Pretty much with the registration is that your biggest nightmare is people that show up late or register late. Those people they throw everything off. So if you already did your numbers, and now you got to add somebody to that group, and then if they're doing a crossover, it makes it even more complicated. So get your registration in if you know you're doing a show, and get it in as soon as possible. A few other notes I'll just say, if you know that you don't work every day in heels, you may want to purchase some and start walking in them before you do the show. You know, the worst thing, and you can always tell a competitor that doesn't wear it, because I call it the trollop. It's like she has ankle weights on trying to lift her feet up. And it's like, oh gosh, she's not used to heels. So, my philosophy, one competitor came up to me after a show one time and he says, well, and I saw him in the gym and I told him, I said, if you want to go over posing, let me know. And he says, well, okay. So he never came up to me, got up on the stage, and guy had great symmetry, great muscle, but he couldn't pose. So I put him on the end. And after the show, he says, well, I don't understand. I think I look better. I said, stop. Okay? I said, posing is everything, and then posing is nothing. Posing is everything, and then posing is nothing. Okay? Posing is everything when you have the right body, the right diet, the right training. Posing is everything because that's the last thing you got to do on that stage to get that first place trophy. Posing is nothing if you have a great body, you have a great training regimen, and you can't do it. That is the very last thing that you're doing in this whole spectrum that gets you that first place trophy, that gets you one of the guys that was having with going to nationals. I said, that is, man, you got a diabetes part, but the bottom line was this. I said, listen, you're going to have to come out there and you're going to have to pose really, really good. You're a small guy, so you're going to have to show that muscle. And if you can't show it, then it's nothing. So I said, you gave nothing. But I had a great body. Yes, but you gave nothing. What counted at that moment was posing. When I was training with Rashi Shabazz, when I came to Atlanta and I moved here, every night after working out, we posed. And he's like, you have to start from the very, very beginning. So you gotta walk in those heels. I know, if you don't do it every day, then it becomes an issue. But you got to start out walking in those heels and learning how to walk in heels. Because otherwise you look like that trolloping horse.
Hi, my name is Maggie Smith, owner of Spray Tans by Maggie and Company. We are located at 710 Winston Drive, Lawrenceville. We offer competition and everyday spray tanning. We are master certified trained by Liquid Sunrays for competition tans and Norvell for everyday tans. The tan does matter. Visit us on the web at spraytansbymaggie.com.
They just have a little more experience about posing. They're going to come up, and we have a photographer here. Just like at your show, you're going to have a photographer here. You're going to hit, and we're going to try to find your best pose, and we'll play with it a little bit. We're going to have front pose. We're going to go to a transition. We'll go to a back pose. Don't overthink about my footwork yet. Then one more front pose. Okay? Okay. We'll start with some first time. This poses. So, we'll bring preview, just a straight back. But you know she doesn't move her hair. They're not looking at her back. They're looking at the glutes and the hamstrings. And then she's going to come back around. She has her own little dance routine that she does a little walk. She comes back up. Hits her front post. And then she's going to curtsy and we're going to walk off. This is basically how I use it. And that's hers. You've got to do your own version of it.
That posing is everything and then posing is nothing. And so you're basically here because posing and the spectrum of things is that very last thing that counts. Because out here, when you're getting ready to start your diet, when you're starting your training, all of that leads to this one point when you're on stage, you're in that block. And in that block, the only thing matters at that point is your posing. So posing is everything because if you've diet right, if you've trained right, and you've done everything right to get you there, then once you pose, it's great. It's nothing if you've done all those things and you haven't learned to pose. So if you haven't learned to walk in heels, if you haven't learned to do quarter turns, especially for figure quarter turns, then it's nothing. And it means nothing because you actually don't know how to do it. So one of the things you have to get in your mindset, I was telling them, how many of you have a job where you wear heels? How many of you have a job where you don't wear heels? So there you go. So what you're going to have to do is from day one learn to walk in heels, right? Because it matters from the point that you leave the side to the point you get in the square, how you're walking. And so I call it trolloping. I was telling them, I can always tell a lady that don't walk in heels because she's picking her feet up like this, and it's like a horse. So you're going to have to, every evening, one trainer I know, he just has his competitor after training, they just walk back and forth until it becomes very, very comfortable walking in the heels. Because if you don't know how to walk in the heels and you're trying to pose, that is becomes very, very complicated. So posing is everything and then it's nothing. So it's based on you and how much you're going to put into it. Anybody have any questions so far? And I'm going to cover a few things with figure.
I will say this, posing really shows your level of confidence. And when judges see you on stage, they really want to see that you feel confident and you're owning all the hard work that you've done and you're presenting yourself with that level of confidence. You know, so it really does make a difference. You don't want to be up there turning like grandma. You want to be up there really showing that you can own the whole hard work and body that you put into your time there, okay?
So you have three basic rounds for any show, whether it's the NPC or any show. Pretty much, it's individual, comparison, and then scoring. Comparison and scoring we kind of merge those and go hand in hand. But the individual rounds is the individual posing where you come out and you do your quarter turns. That's pretty much all we pretty much have in figure. You don't do any muscular showing or anything like that. Then there is the comparison round where we're bringing up competitors. As I was explaining to them earlier, typically the judges, this posing of individuals takes about 15 seconds. And the judge has that amount of time to actually see if are you one of the ones they want to bring out first in comparisons. And then everybody is put on that line. We may call out 5, 6, how many ever number I want to call out, and then put across this line. And then we compare you to decide who should go where. And then once we compare you and we put you in different places, the judges then start scoring as to who's first, second, third, fourth, and so forth. Okay? So one of the things you want to make sure you're doing is you're always holding your pose. When you're on that line, you're always holding your pose. And you're always conscious about holding your pose.
Hey, I'm Michael Brewer. I'm the CEO of Envision Photography and Videos of Atlanta. I'm here to give you information about Envision Videos and Photography of Atlanta. First of all, you can reach me here at www.envisionatl.com. I'm online and on Instagram at Envision Photography. That's the letter N and then Vision Photography, all one word. So you can check me out on Instagram and visit my website to schedule your photo shoots, fitness videos, any type of media related fitness products I specialize in. I may more than likely be at a organization such as NPC, SNBF, NANBF, INBF as far as for fitness videos, for competition DVDs. So come check me out. I'll give you as much information as I can about how to market yourself from a fitness standpoint. If you're a personal trainer, contact me and we can definitely market your product and get your business growing. So again, I'm Michael Brewer, Envision Photography of Atlanta. Thank you.
Let's all start with our front traditional pose. Everyone put your feet together. You see how this looks? This does not look good. This looks good. Always have your feet together. Okay? A little bit more towards the judges. Good. We're all going to go to our back. Hair management, move the hair out of the way, and so everyone's going to be looking strictly away from us, and I need you to be as wide as possible without bringing the arms out. So we're going to push the shoulders way out. So we're going to go to the back nose.
With men's physique, of course, there are only two mandatory poses, the front pose and the back pose. Anything else you do in between, that's on you. But pretty much it's the front pose and the back pose. And so, Steve, I'll put you up here, but did you have any questions regarding anything with men's physique?
It's better when you do the tanning to like get it on your face too.
You know, let me say this: everybody has to tan. You know, as dark as I am, I mean, back in the day when I bodybuild, I still tan because your skin tone is uneven. People don't realize that. They look at themselves in the mirror and go, "Well, I don't need to tan." Yes, you do. Your skin tone is uneven because parts of your body is exposed to the sun and parts of it isn't. So you look funny because there's some guys I've seen on the national show that have a ton of makeup on.
You did?
Right? Why? And then all this is dark and all this is really light. And it's like, okay, well, you can tell where the makeup starts and the tanning ends. You know, tanning is one of those things you gotta kind of like figure out. You don't want anything too dark, and then you don't want anything that's not dark enough to let your muscles show up. Some people do one coat and they're fine. Some people have to do two coats. I wouldn't let nobody talk me into doing two coats just to do two coats. Say, okay, but that's what most people do. If you don't need two coats, then you don't need two coats. Just don't do it. But you know what the tanning really does is even out your skin tone. But then when you shine up a little bit, it shows your muscles a lot better. But I don't look on the stage and go, oh, let me see if his tanning and his face is merging or his neck. No, I'm not doing that. But you do look to see if the overflow of the skin tone is good. Yes.
Going back to what you said about plastic physique, now, are you guys, would you say conditioning is just as important still as your judgment?
Oh, yes. Yes. Classic, more so classic, because classic is just one step below a bodybuilder. Just really a bodybuilder with no legs. That's really what it is, because if they wear the regular trunks, not the bikini trunks, the regular trunks, show a little bit of legs. But these are guys, typically, and I know some of them that went over to men's physique. I have a couple of them that turned pro men's physique, and they're moving to this one immediately because they're just too big, muscular-wise, and they'll do good in it. They'll do good. It was created for them. One of our pros here, Antonio Mitchell, this is. I told him this is what is exactly for you. So, Steve will go over some of the posing with you. Any other questions?
Already I'll be going on stage. Pretty sure y'all can tell like who's going to be classes for these, right? Like you can say, no, you don't need to do this, you can do classes.
Well, let me explain to you kind of when any new division comes up, you only have two ways of making pros, okay? People that are already pros got to cross over to it, or you got to make pros at your national shows. Now here's the problem. Classic Men's Physique will be at the Olympics this year, but there's only 3 shows between now and then. I think 3, yes. There is the Junior USA, Junior Nationals, the USA, and I think the North America. I don't know if they're doing pros at North America for Classic or not. So you got maybe 4 shows. How many you're going to get out of there are very limited numbers. So right now, there are pro shows for Classic Men's Physique. But you don't know how many numbers you're going to get from current pros that are going to cross over. So if it's 20 guys, you got 20 guys now competing in those pro shows trying to get points for Olympics in Classic Men's Physique. Now, that's not to say who's going to come on at Junior Nationals, Junior USA, and they'll also start doing those pro shows as well. But that's how you have to build up any division. You have to create pros. So that's how that's going to go. It's not at the Army. It's the only show starting out this year. It's not going to be at this. That Classic Men's Physique will be at us. Anything else? Any of you done shows before? You didn't do any? No? You haven't? First time? Any of you have trainers? No? Doing yourself? Sometimes it's good to have someone that's familiar with shows and what you need to do. And it's also good to have a second eye. So I'm not telling you who your second eye have to be, and I'm not telling you a specific trainer, but I'll tell you this, it's always good to have a second eye to tell you that, I think you need to bring this up or bring this down, because you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you think you're fine, and you're not. You'll be lacking in areas. You'll be your best critic and your worst.
Like you say, you look good, just yourself.
Right.
Not like standing next to somebody else.
Yeah, and everybody says, "Oh, you look great." Yeah, but there are 5 judges at this show that may not think the same thing. So,
this is 105.9 WVGA Fit Talk Radio, and I'm Maria Wells, your host. Fit Talk Radio is a forum that covers all things fitness every Thursday night from 6 to 7 p.m. You can listen live or online at ValdostAtoday.com. If you'd like to be a guest on our show, or if you have an event you'd like Fit Talk to cover, please just contact me at fittalkmaria@gmail.com. This is 105.9 WVGA Fit Talk Radio, your #1 station for fitness talk.
Give me a little something. Put out, side, whatever. You want to make sure you're wide, you're tight with your abs.
Helps.
Yeah. And what you want is when you hit your abs, don't push out. because you want to keep that waist small. The smaller your waist is, the bigger your shoulders We're not relaxing. You still got
I wouldn't be wearing it. My
really wide. And now because this is let's look on the right side. Give us a little
Everybody's the dogs. They like this.
Let me talk a little bit about what happened with women's physique and then why we actually have it. What happened was we created bodybuilding for women, and the women started to look a little too hard, and pretty much just women started looking like men with wigs on. That's what it actually looked like. And so then we went to figure, and we said the figure would have to be a softer look, more symmetry and shape. But the problem was we had some figure ladies that had developed muscle, and that muscle wasn't going anywhere. And they weren't trying to be bodybuilders, but they were too muscular for figure. So there you have female physique. There was an attempt. Some of the women were getting a little too hard in even female physique, and they brought it back down, even at the national and the pro level, to make sure, no, we're not going there again. You're not going to turn women's physique into bodybuilding. It's women's physique. It's a softer look. It's much more toned look. So pretty much that's pretty much where those lines are drawn. You can cross over, but what I often tell everyone is that when you cross over, you're going to be judged as if what's the criteria for that individual class. Okay? So you can't go over into women's bodybuilding thinking that, okay, well, I want to be judged by like a physique competitor. No, that's not what's going to happen. It's women's bodybuilding or figure, same kind of deal. Bodybuilding, no bodybuilders, and then there's classic men's physique. Classic men's physique, you're going to have the 5 poses. They're open-handed poses, and that's pretty much it. Now, what class? I was telling the other guys earlier, what's one of the interesting things about classic men's physique is I think they announced that pretty much it's going to be at the Arnold. Now the issue is how many guys that are current pros are going to cross over to classic men's physique to have enough pros for the Arnold. I mean for the Olympia, and then we have like 4 or 5 shows to make pros. That then at these national shows, they can then become pros to then do pro shows to qualify for them. So there's a short time period between now and Olympia, and it's going to be interesting just to see how many people from the pro ranks switch over, and then how many pros are going to be produced at some of these local shows, some of the national shows in between now and then, and those guys going on to pro shows and qualifying for Olympics. So it should be an interesting year for classic men's physique. And if it's anything like men's physique, the first show of the year it came out, we had 15 competitors. By the end of the year, there were like 40 in each class. So we'll see how it develops. And Steve went to one show already, right?
Yeah, we had a guy out in California for the very first show. That was 2 weeks ago. And the guy who won overall looked like a classic, what we would consider classic men's physique. A very large men's physique guy with legs. I hate to say it that way, but that's what it was. He wasn't overly developed in the thickness. He had a lot of width, but still kept that tiny little waist. And that's probably the biggest, I think the main thing is that it is a lot more symmetry instead of just having massive amount of muscle to weight kinds. You know, it's still keeping those small joints, especially if you do have small joints, smaller waist, smaller hips. You can show a lot more of a differentiation between your shoulders and your back and your waist. And that's what was winning. They still want that conditioning, but you know, you're going to hit that level of, well, you're so tall and you can only weigh so much. So it is a balance in it.
I was telling them earlier, posing is everything and then posing is nothing. Posing is everything when you actually diet, train, and you actually do it. Because in the spectrum of things, it's the very last thing that you're doing as a part of your whole training in this show. It's the very last thing you're doing. You're getting on the stage to show the outcome of all of these things that you did before. Now it's nothing because if you didn't train and you didn't diet and you don't know how to do it, then it really doesn't matter how you look. So if you don't know how to pose, it doesn't really matter because you don't have the body, you haven't trained, and you don't know how to do it. So it means absolutely nothing. And that's sad because some people, they will train, they will diet, and they look really, really well, and then they get on stage and they can't pose. I almost take it as a judge as insulting. Because it's like, well, why did you even come up here if this is something you can't even do? What is there to show? And so those people, oftentimes, if you can't pose, it's a waste of a judge's time, bottom line. Because you can't, how can I compare your front double bicep with somebody else's front double bicep when you can't do a front double bicep or back double bicep? So posing to me is everything, and it should start at the very beginning of your training, and it should be something you're doing daily. It shouldn't be something that you do, okay, oh yeah, I didn't do it this week, let me go in the mirror for 5 or 10 minutes and do it. It should be something you're doing continuously throughout your training, to the point that when we were dealing with people earlier, that is second nature. So when a judge tells you to hit that pose, it's just, you just flow right into it. And you don't have to do all the setup and then, well, let me think about it, let me get my legs, let me give me my mind. No, it's just something you can just flow right into. But that only comes with practice.
Hi, my name is Mike, and together with my wife Christine, we run Water Babies Bikini, and we're one of the most innovative and original designers when it comes to competition bikinis. And we also carry competition jewelry and accessories for the stage. Now you can find us on the web at www.waterbabiesbikini.com, and our phone number is 404-285-2000. Feel free to give us a call if you have any questions. We're always there to help. Thank you.
And you're going to be twisting your upper body torsos towards me, showing triceps, side chest. So we're going to do a quarter from your right. Twist towards me.
There's no magic. Do you know that?
Good, core turn to your right.
Curious if not my hands at women's physique.
So we're gonna be nice and wide, real big. Yeah, good, core turn to your right.
And then text me your information. So this section that I know is just Lee, excuse me, can I see your name?
Good, core turn to your right. Front double bicep. So we're gonna have a little flare, we're gonna bring a leg out.
Oh, you can do your.
You need to. So we're gonna be just here, here.
You're there. You're This guy is that's it. But I gotta check. I'm pretty sure yes. I don't know what classes get
Relax. Because if I don't know, we're all going to do a core turn to your right.
I don't know what
Side chest.
but I'm that first
Core turn to your right.
You really, if you want
Side chest. Just put your feet to the ball. You gotta work on your feet. Stay. Good. Relax. Classic lead, y'all. Worry about the side tricep. Ladies, let's do side tricep on this side. Relax.
I gotta get all the way to Bikini.
We're all doing rear double bicep. Gentlemen, we're all going to spike it. Go back. It doesn't have to be straight back. Stick it out a little bit.
Oh, no problem.
Either way.
No problem, no problem.
Yes. I'm going to do a rear double bicep next. The judges are behind you, so you need to lean back a little bit. Pull those elbows underneath.
So we will see you next again. Sounds good. Thank you so much.
You already got it. I'll talk to them and talk about how it will flow.
And relax. Core turn to your right. Let's do this side chest. Yeah, we're going to find out which side feels better for us.
Start the next show at 7:30 for the game. So if you want to do all females on Monday, and then you do all the males Saturday. So when the males are the next Saturday, and then you give them the register today. You know what, we got your time. I already got time. Okay. So we good. All right.
Good. You want to get up here? Relax. Ladies, let's do a side tricep. Relax. Face front. Hands overhead, split abs. So we'll keep the weight on this back leg. Put one leg forward, it doesn't matter which one. Dip your hips forward, crunch, blow out. Lock out this leg. Keep the weight on that back leg. Yeah. Relax. Gentlemen, you're going to do a classic physique pose. There's not a standard pose. Okay? Hopefully they'll figure out something, but it's going to be a little bit more ab concentrated. It could be something like this, this. You see guys like this, here. Look at old videos of Frank Zane. Honestly, make sure you hit the abs, don't be pushing into it too much. You know, so let's all just practice something along those lines. Okay, so you'll be one of the USA. It's not an ab shot. It's here.
I have two.
There you go. You need to keep the weight on the back. Correct. It is messed up. And relax. We'll go through all these poses again. Okay, actually, everyone take one step to your left. And now when I say this side chest, I don't care what you say. You need to figure out what's best for you. When I have the ladies do the side tricep, guys are going to do a classic physique pose. There's no one standard pose. You got to figure out what's good for you. Okay? So